This program is brought to you by LegendaryStrength.com. The content found here is for informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. It is recommended you talk to your qualified health professional before making any changes to your exercise plan, diet, or prescription medication use. Legendary Strength is not responsible for any claims made during this program.
Hey, it's Logan Christopher here, and welcome to the Legendary Strength Podcast. I got an episode today where I'm going to be focusing on some health information. And before we dive into that, I do want to make mention that I am going to be holding a very big sale that is going on. It will be starting on Tuesday. And so unless you're listening to this right away, it will likely be in full force by the time you listen to this, or it may have passed. But hopefully, one way or another, you get a take part in it. The idea with the sale is I'm looking to buy a house and I need to raise money for the down payment, so that's why I'm having the sale. So you're going to be able to save on all the different products I have, everything I have available, and hopefully you can help me to get the house, which has been, something I've wanted to do my entire life at some point. So I really want to get on top of that. So thank you very much for participating in the sale. If you're a subscriber, if you're on the website, you'll see that everywhere pretty much for the next few days. So let's talk about health. This is really going to go from some of the stuff that I recently put on the blog. If you saw on the previous Friday, I had an article about killing parasites, and we're going to be talking about that and some of the things that have occurred since then. Very interesting stuff. First, I want to talk about experimenting with health. The way I see it is health is something that you can treat in the same sort of way as exercise. As in it's progressive. You're not either healthy or you're not. It's really is a continuum. How healthy can you be? How far can you take it? And can it be taken too far? Absolutely, I would say there's some people that go to extremes in their efforts in order to secure health, and in doing so, they cause more harm than good. That definitely can occur. Just what comes to mind is you think of, I've heard news stories about this, vegan parents who make their babies vegan, and there's not enough of the critical nutrients, and the baby dies. That has been reported in the news a couple times. Just one instance, but there's a whole bunch of other cases, and that's just one extreme example. So yes, this can be taken too far, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it at all. Some people argue, just because they're extreme that, the whole vegan thing, that's, you shouldn't do that at all or anything. Now there's other reasons that I don't think vegan health is, or vegan eating may be the best, but I don't want to get into nutrition debate at this time. Instead, I want to talk about some other stuff. The whole idea of experimenting with your health. You got to try new things, just as I would advise in exercise. Find what you really like to do, but be open to trying new things. It's the same with health, and that's something I really like to do. I mean, there was a time when literally I didn't eat like fruits or vegetables at all, so I had to experiment to start bringing those in. And really what got me started experimenting with my diet and nutrition in the beginning was going with the Warrior Diet. That was really the first nutrition book I ever read, the first change in any sort of health stuff that I was doing, and it really opened the doors for what I was able to do. I don't eat like that now, but that is one experiment I did in my past which has taught me something, which then I can take that experience and use it to do whatever else I'm going to do through the rest of my life. Some other experiments would be fasting. If you've never fasted before, I highly encourage you to engage in this experiment. See if it works for you. For some people, it really doesn't seem to work that well. For other people, it works great. If you're looking to lose weight, doing some sort of intermittent fasting plan seems to work phenomenally well. To increase your energy, it can be great for that, and giving your body a break to let your body not focus on constant digestion as it does when we eat all the time, but giving it a break from that so it can focus on healing, doing other things in the body, processing waste, all sorts of other stuff that the body needs to do. So fasting is a good one, and this can be like a 24-hour fast, or you can definitely go much longer with your fasting, which I'd say those are two different things. I'd say most people should be able to easily go through a 24-hour fasting pretty easily. If you're going longer, that does take a bit more dedication, and it is surely a great thing to experiment with and go for at some point in your life. So just some ideas of experimenting. One guy that has quite a bit of a spotlight that has definitely done this himself is Tim Ferriss, doing experiments with his body, and then in his book, The 4-Hour Body, he reported those different experiments, which is I really like that book because not because I'm going to listen to exactly what he did. His whole idea in that is I did the experiments on myself, so you don't have to. That is good as a starting point, but because every person's body is different, because of that biological individuality, everyone is different. So just because it worked really well for him doesn't mean it's going to work really well for you. But you use that other person's information as a starting point in which to begin your experimentation. And that's the same thing I'm telling you to do here. I'm not saying you should do exactly what I did. And in fact, there are some drawbacks to exactly what I did, as you will come to see. Another experiment I did recently, and I guess that was almost a year ago, about 9 months, was I did 30 days of eating raw vegan food. And there's a podcast back then when I talked about it, and you can find details if you want regarding that back on my blog. So that was an experiment that, it took some willpower to be able to do it. It took some planning, and it took a lot of things, and I learned certain things from it that were very awesome for me to learn. So I think experimenting with your health is a great thing to do that will really allow you to get better health in the end. People get caught up in their paradigms of whatever their health paradigms happen to be, and they won't go outside that. Let's go back to the vegan thing. If you've been vegan for 15 years and you did it originally for health reasons, and you think it's only the healthiest thing to do, and you're not willing to experiment outside of that, then you may be shortchanging yourself. It may have been great as a cleansing type diet, even for an extended period of time, to really clear up some of the stuff in there, but you may be missing out on some critical things that you could get from ingesting some goat yogurt, for instance, or something along those lines. So I want you to be open to experimenting. Don't take anything as gospel as anyone puts it out there in health, but use it to inform your decisions and find what works for you. So let's talk about the paradigms of most people. Just actually having gone through this, it's funny seeing what other people say. Just the whole Western medicine approach to things, based on what I see, looking at my research and the people I interact with, it's sometimes funny that people are still trapped in that whole Western medicine, just go to your doctor and listen to what your doctor says, because the doctor knows everything about your health. And doctors are great if you need like a critical surgery or something, but I'm not going to listen to the doctor for my health information. I'm going to take care of that myself. It really should be self-led, because we are in charge of our own body. And if you don't do that, then you're going to end up having need of doctor and medications and all the fun stuff that Western medicine has to provide. So one of the things that we're going to be talking about is colonics as we come up along in the story, which I'll get to started with in a moment. But just having talked to a number of people were telling me that, colonics are bad, they're dangerous, they can be dangerous. And it's funny to hear this, once again, I imagine there could be some problems from them, but these are definitely from people that had never tried them themselves. They just heard the opinions of other people, likely people in the Western medicine paradigm, who didn't look at any sort of alternative health information, and they didn't want to look outside of that, so they had to warn me that I shouldn't be doing what I was doing. And another thing you have to understand is, if you are doing this whole experimenting with health, if you are going outside the paradigm of the vast majority of the population, other people will think you're weird. So if you have thin skin, you're going to have to learn to deal with that, and you're going to have to develop some thick skin. I think that's a very good that's a capability that you need to have, whether you're trying to succeed in your own health, which really this is what it is, doing your own workouts, doing outside the box normal things, business, life in general, where the vast majority of people are at is not very successful in these different things. So I think there's high value in being different than everyone else out there, because the results of the vast majority of people out there just aren't that good. So yes, I want to be different. I want to be weird. I take that as a badge of honor. Like I said, on Friday I had an article that I released, How to Kill Parasites in Your Body. As a new experiment for myself, I decided to do a parasite detox plan. This involved something as simple as taking a combination of 3 herbs: cloves, black walnut hull, and wormwood, and taking this each day for 100 days straight. I had heard of these herbs from a whole number of different sources. Specifically, I just cracked open a book I had, David Wolf's The Longevity Now program, where I knew he detailed that, and I just reread the information regarding those herbs and his suggested dosage. I went to Mountain Rose Herbs, and I purchased the herbs in the exact form, which is, I got the capsules of the wormwood, and I got the powdered forms of clove and black walnut hull, because David Wolf says in this book that those powdered forms work much better than the alcohol tincture forms, which are more common, because the herbs will actually go through your intestines and meet up with those different parasites and everything like that. So I like David Wolf. I think he's a great speaker, funny guy. Lots of nutrition information I've learned from him over the years, so I took his word on this and just decided to go forward with it. Now, why did I start the parasite detox in the first place? Why did I decide that this was something to do? I have heard statistics that a lot of people have parasites in them, something like 50% of the population or more, and most people are just unaware of it. With parasites, you can have really bad ones that you're definitely going to feel, have very bad diarrhea, fevers, all sorts of things. Or you can have parasites where, they sort of live symbiotically with you. They're causing some, not necessarily pain, but some symptoms, but living somewhat harmoniously with your body to the point where they're not creating such waves that your body has to get rid of them. They're living there and surviving along with you. So what were the symptoms that I had that I thought that I might have parasites, and decided to do this detox? I have always had, I don't want to say digestive problems, but I feel like my digestion, even though I can eat a lot of food, and definitely from working out, my digestion, I feel like it's strong in some regards, but not as strong as it could be in other regards. When I eat a lot of food, regardless of what sort of food it is, I always tend to have gas. I fart a lot. That's what happens, regardless of what the food, regardless of food combining, which is a whole other health subject and something you might want to experiment with, do some research on your own. So regardless of that, I tend to have flatulence. I'd say that's a pretty regular thing that I have, and that can be one symptom of parasites. Another issue is that I tend to have bad breath a fair amount of time. Regardless of brushing my teeth, I use a tongue scraper that's supposed to really help get rid of bad breath immediately, but it's coming from the inside. And I had these problems when, I was eating vegan, so it's not just the dead meat that some people might play all the issues on. So this has really persisted through much of my life, and I've done lots of experimenting trying to figure out, how I could eliminate this from happening, and it's still persistent. I know from my experimentation on certain things are much worse. For instance, I am to some degree lactose intolerant. I'd say those are the main reasons, because I know combined with the fact that they say most people have them, and so for the most part, I am relatively healthy in my nutrition. Occasionally, I still do that I do right now. It wasn't always this, for instance, as I mentioned before. Just as a kid, I didn't eat fruit and vegetables at all. I ate lots of processed food, bagel bites, Hot Pockets, soda, candy, so many chips and all sorts of things that I ate. And I did that for years and years and years. And that is a testament to how well the body can adapt to what it's being given, and what it can still accomplish with that. But I still feel like that needs to be processed through to some degree, and I've done a lot along those routes, but there's probably more to go. So that is what led me to trying out this parasite detox. About 4 days into it, I had this weird thumping going on the left side of my stomach. It was a little like the movie Aliens. Not quite to that degree at all, not even close to it, but it felt like there was something. It wasn't my heartbeat, because I can feel the difference between that going through my body, which I can sometimes notice, especially if I'm paying attention to it. And this was a very fast beating just against one spot in my stomach, like there was something in there that was maybe in its death throes, that was wiggling around and contacting the outside. So I just took notice of that and moved on. Then what happened, Thursday morning at about 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up. I sleep very well almost always. So for me to wake up in the middle of the morning, in the middle of the night, is not a usual thing. But in this case, this is something that happened to me. And I woke up and my stomach was in a lot of pain, and it also felt bloated. I think this may be the first time I've ever felt bloated. I hear other people talk about that, especially women around certain times of the month. They talk about these symptoms, but I think this may be the first time I felt it that wasn't related just to eating, that I had something going on. So I had this pain and this bloating, and it was very hard to fall back asleep. I was up for at least another hour or so before I did fall asleep. And when I woke up again later at a normal time, 7 or 8 o'clock, then that pain and bloating was still there. It was quite uncomfortable. Unfortunately, I was planning to actually film a new course for you, how to feel like $1 billion, right before this happened, but that plan had to be set to the wayside because I felt like I couldn't move. My stomach was all in upheaval and everything. So I just basically rested that day. I really didn't do much, just to give my body a rest, to allow it to maybe process what was going on, although I wasn't sure what was going on. From the beginning, I assumed that this was part of the parasite detox, a symptom of that. But the truth is, it could have been something unrelated. I still think it is part of the parasite detox, but it could have just, coincidentally occurred while I was doing this detox. So all through that day, the pain and bloating persisted. I lied down through much of the day. I applied a heating pad to the area, which brought a little relief at the time, but basically I just chilled out, hoping that the next day it would be better. So when I woke up the next morning, I would say it was just a tiny bit better, but for the most part it was exactly the same, which when you're used to being healthy, high energy, no pain and everything for most of your life, the majority of your time, it really sucks when you're brought down to, this level of being in pain. I mean, that sucks for everyone, but it's not something usual for me, so I really don't enjoy it. I think that's actually, not being in pain, having high energy, that is how humans are supposed to be. You shouldn't be like this any of the time, really. I mean, there are of course going to be some emergencies and accidents and whatnot, but this is not a normal way to live. Yet symptoms of chronic pain, chronic disease, those are common occurrences for people, and that is a sad fact. And that's why I think experimenting with your health and working your way towards a more healthy and healthy lifestyle is exactly what you should do, so you don't have to suffer these things. So the following day, as I mentioned, much the same. What I decided to do, which was actually something I was meaning to do for a while, was to go and get a colonic. Now, before I do that, I do want to mention that, a little part of myself was worried that it could be something worse than just some parasite die-off or whatever was happening. What I imagined was parasites died off, caused some gas, some inflammation. That's what was causing the pain. But I also went online and did some research on appendicitis, and looking at the different symptoms of that on WebMD or wherever I happened to find, I had about half the symptoms. So that was kind of an iffy thing for me. Uh, Understand, if I was in the Western medicine paradigm, then probably on the first day I would have gone and seen the doctor. But my decision was to wait it out to see if it was worse the next day or better. It was just slightly better, which was a good sign. Um, Having looked at the symptoms, I had about half of them. I didn't have everything, so I definitely didn't think that that was the problem, but I had it in my mind that there could be some sort of problem with the appendix. Now, the last thing I want to do is have myself cut open and something removed unless that is absolutely essential for my survival, for my health, for that to happen. I didn't want to go there, and I didn't even want to go see a doctor because that's a waste of time and waste of money unless it's necessary at the time. Once again, I'm taking responsibility for my own health here, and I'm paying attention to what's happening with my body with these other things going on. So what I decided to do, like I said, something I'd been meaning to do is go and schedule a colonic. I called up this place in town, actually very nearby to where I live, and they had an availability that day, so I went in and saw them. My thinking was, if I do have these parasites dying off and causing inflammation, that if things are cleaned out, it will likely help. So I go in and see a colonic, and colonic's not like a popular thing to talk about. It is somewhat of an invasive procedure, though not as invasive as slicing open your abdomen to remove a part of you, but it is not. I guess it's not like an easy thing the first time you go do it, but it really wasn't that bad at all. The colon hydrotherapist was quite nice, and I've always thought, how do people get into these jobs? And the reason that this woman had gotten into her job was because she had gone to seen one, because she had massive health issues herself, really bad candida, to the point where it gave her fibromyalgia, and she was able to cure this by changing how she ate and doing a whole bunch of colonics and everything. So then she got into that line of work herself, which I can see that happening. If something makes that huge of an impact on your life, then it's likely that you're going to really enjoy that, maybe even want to change that into your profession. So I get the colonic. It is overall not that unpleasant at all. It's an interesting procedure where they shove a tube up your butt and they pump water through it at a very slow pace so that it's not going to cause damage or anything. This is professional, like medical grade machinery. They also have a second tube in there that water can then come out, and based on the pressure and how things are working, how your body just wants to naturally remove stuff, they'll put water in up until a point of, you feel like you're full, and then they'll allow it to come out naturally through the body. It's not sucking out, it's not doing anything. So really I suppose if it didn't have machinery like this, it could cause damage in some ways, but this is really gentle machinery. And the cool thing is on the machine, some people might think this is gross, but there's a clear tube where you can see the stuff that comes out. And really, I didn't see all that much come out. I forgot to mention that I took some laxative castor oil the day before, seeing if that would help to remove stuff. So some stuff came out of me then in the toilet bowl. So I think I was, for the most part, fairly clear. But with the colonic, the idea is having this water just coursing through. The whole idea behind the colonic is you're cleansing the large intestine, which is, our waste facility. It needs to be cleaned out every once in a while. And you want to just have it be relatively clean just through eating enough fiber and diet where things are kept clean. But still, it's the waste processing plant of our body. So having it flushed out from time to time can be something that is great for your health. Makes sense to me. This is one experiment that I was planning on trying regardless of these symptoms that I had. I was just sort of forced into doing it because I had these symptoms, so it made it urgent for me to do. So at one point of the watching the tube and stuff floating by, there was something that looked like I don't know, something that had been there quite a long time. I didn't see any worms or parasites float by, but I do have 2 more colonics scheduled in the next week, and I'm hoping for that just because I don't know, that would give me confirmation of the whole parasite theory. It'd be very interesting to see, so I'll definitely report to you later if I do end up seeing that. Uh, a thing that some people talk about with the colon, even if you're regular and are, you eat food and stuff's coming through, that doesn't mean there's stuff building up on the outside walls of your large intestine. Stuff can still pass through the middle if it's relatively unobstructed, but there can be plaque and debris and everything just coating to the outside of the large intestine. With the colonic, this coating of stuff that can get hardened and be there for years. I mean, some people say that the average American has, 20, 30, 40 pounds of undigested material just sitting in the colon, and this can be a huge thing contributing to being overweight. How much did Elvis have when they did an autopsy on him? Over 50 pounds or something ridiculous like that. So this stuff can just be coating on the outer walls of the colon and not coming through, but with the colonic, this can be broken up and then processed through the body and actually eliminated as it should have been in the first place. So I got the colonic done, feeling pretty good. I'd say I did feel a little better as far as my abdominal bloating and my pain after that, though overall about the same level. I went to sleep that night. I woke up with dramatically less pain. It's still there. There's still a little bit there the next morning, but it was far less. However, what happened during that day is the colonic put me into a bit of a cleansing reaction. So mind you, throughout this whole period of when I woke up with the pain through the colonic and everything, for the most part, I really didn't eat much food. I was fasting through most of this just because with abdominal pain and bloating, I wasn't feeling very hungry. So for the most part, I fasted for 2 days straight. I started to eat a little more, but you're not supposed to eat a bunch before the colonic. So for the most part, I haven't eaten that much food until yesterday, which was Sunday at the time of recording this. And I still wasn't eating like I normally eat, so a lot less than normal. So sort of a modified fast through all this. That, along with the colonic, for whatever reason, breaking that stuff apart sent me into a cleansing reaction. What is a cleansing reaction? It's kind of like being sick, except it's not caused necessarily by germs or your immune system being under attack. What I've had is just a stuffy or a runny nose for the past couple of days. It's much better right now, but perhaps you can hear a little bit of it still in my voice. So the past 2 days I've been blowing my nose like crazy. All this stuff is coming out. My body is pretty good about processing out mucus. Like I mentioned before, if I eat cheese, that one almost sure thing that's going to happen is the next morning I'm going to end up blowing my nose as my body's trying to get rid of that immediately. It's pretty good about doing that. But what seemed to happen with this colonic, the fasting, everything going along together is my body's like, oh, we got more stuff now that we can really get rid of. So it's been like I've been sick the past 2 days, but I wouldn't even call it sick, although I've described that to some people just because it's way easier than to, educate them on whole cleansing reactions and everything like I'm doing here. But a lot of mucus has been processing through my body, so my body is purging that, getting rid of it, and it's been a little uncomfortable. This whole half week that I've gone through has not been a lot of fun, but at the same time, I know this is a great process for my health to get even better and better. So I feel like parasites are dying and going off in my body, and that's caused some symptoms, but that led me to getting the colonics, and I've been fasting and cleansing out my body, a whole bunch of mucus and everything. Funny thing for me to think about is, so if it was a colonic that caused this cleansing reaction based on stuff being broken apart in my large intestine, that means that my body is now processing this fecal matter that got broken apart through my nose. So what's actually coming out, of course, it is clear for the most part and all that. What is coming next is I have 2 more colonics scheduled, as I mentioned. The colon hydrotherapist, says that the first one, the body's just sort of getting used to it if you've never done anything like that. So not a whole lot comes out. Your second one is better than your first, and your third is even better than your second. And you do them within a few days, at least a day rest in between them. But this allows a whole lot to come out. So I may have even more cleansing symptoms in the next few days. I may have some more reactions, or a whole lot more may come out. Maybe next week's podcast, I'll have a whole new story to share with you. But if not, I just hope that it helps to continue to bring me greater health, even having to go through these cleansing reactions. So instead of actually getting sick, because I can't remember the last time I was sick, but sometimes when you're experimenting with your health, especially if you're doing things that aren't always so gentle, then your body may go into a cleansing reaction, which is like being sick, but it's better than being sick, because when you're sick, your body is just fighting off something, and it is cleansing at that time, trying to get rid of it, and also at the time it's actually getting rid of some other stuff so that it can be healthier in the long run. But with a cleansing reaction, you're not really fighting off everything. Your body is just purging old crap that has built up from over the years of toxic environment and nutrition. And like I said, I haven't always lived this way, so there could be quite a bit of stuff in there that needs to come out, and that's what I'm working towards. So I think that is going to wrap it up for us now. We've just gone over half an hour. I hope you gain some insight, some ideas, some different things that you can do to experiment with your health. I would love it for you to go on the blog and post some of the experiments you've done with your health, some of the results you got from that, or post an experiment in the future that you'd like to do. I'd love to hear and get some ideas from you, and I can give you some ideas back on different things you can do to experiment with your health to get even more radiant health, which in turn, the whole point, for the whole reason I went this health route in the first place, was for peak performance. The way I see it, the better health you have, the better your body's going to be able to recover on a regular basis. You're not going to be down from any sick time or injuries or anything like that. You're going to be able to just perform at a peak level more often. So sometimes that does require going out of the box, and I haven't been able to train regularly these past days, but I think in the long run, the health benefits I get from going through these few processes I'm going through right here are going to allow me to get better and better results in my training, and not just enjoy, better health, but it's actually going to transmit to that place where I'm looking to achieve my goals as well. So thank you very much, and once again, go and check out the house sale that I have going on, starting on Tuesday the 26th and probably going through the week or so. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Like I said, go to the blog, talk about your health experiments. I'll see you there.